Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva. I hope everyone's having a good week. Today, we're going to continue our lung health series, and we're going to cover a very, very important herb called red sage. And that's what we started off in the title. It's called red sage. And we're going to look at red sage on lung congestion. That's what we're going to look at. So we're going to go right through understanding what this herb is, what is lung congestion, what are the molecular systems of lung congestion, and how the components of red sage affect it. And again, this is brought to you by the Cytosolve Open Science Institute, and we're very grateful to them because Cytosolve contributes a lot of research directly to the public. So that's what we're going to cover today, and I hope all of you enjoy it. Again, you may want to go look at a number of the other videos we did on lung congestion, but this is a part of that lung congestion series. So I hope everyone enjoys this, and I think you will. So let me first of all begin by bringing up our PowerPoint slide. We have all these slides readied. Obviously, we want to thank our science team because it takes a lot of effort to put this stuff together. But again, we're going to discuss red sage and lung congestion today. So let me begin. So when we talk about red sage and lung congestion, I need to go to the beginning of this. It was at the end. This happens at PowerPoint. But when we talk about red sage, and typically what we do in all of our presentations is we take a systems approach. And a systems approach is extremely important, unlike what we call a reductionist approach. The reductionist approach is where you don't look at the whole, but you look at parts of the problem. And this is fundamentally, whether it be in science or whether it be in politics or whether it be in engineering, when you look at the parts of something, you never get the whole. It's a very, very powerful way to manipulate people and give people half-truths. But we take a systems approach here, and we want to encourage all of you to also take a systems approach. So that's the approach that we take. As a part of this, what I want to begin as people are joining is to give you my journey to systems and what does it mean to take a systems approach, because that systems approach will help you really understand why it's extremely important. And I'll put it in the context of my personal journey to systems, and we'll be right back. But you're going to really understand what is a systems approach. Welcome to VA Shiva. VA Shiva is a product of my journey across East and West, science and tradition, ancient and modern, that brings you the science of systems so you can become a force for truth, freedom, health. VA Shiva is a platform of revolutionary education, community building, and weaponry for unleashing local activism. My journey to VA Shiva begins in the chaos of Bombay, where I experienced diverse religions, languages, castes, and in a small village that had no running water, no electricity, where my grandmother, a poor village farmer, practiced Siddha, an ancient system of Indian medicine over 10,000 years old. She observed one's face, the art of Samudrika Lakshanam, to understand a body's unique constitution, allowing her to deliver the right medicine for the right person at the right time. Watching my grandmother heal others, I was inspired to study medicine, but I was also aware of the corrupt caste system of India, which denigrated a human being, where my family were considered low caste untouchables, where one's birth determined one's destiny. The grit and determination of my mother and father led them to get educated and to come to America, a 1 in a trillion event. Their actions inspired me to work hard and excel. While in 9th grade, I attended New York University in a computer science program, and subsequently, at the age of 14, was given a full-time job as a research fellow at what is now known as Rutgers Medical School in the heart of Newark, New Jersey. There I investigated the system of sleep using mathematics, computer science, and biology for sudden infant death syndrome. It was there in Newark where I invented email, when I was the first to convert every feature of the physical, paper-based inter-office mail system, including inbox, outbox, memo, carbon copy, blind carbon copy, attachments, into its electronic equivalent, a system which I named email, a term that I was the first to coin. On August 30th, 1982, I was awarded the first U.S. copyright for the invention of this system, recognizing me as the inventor of email. At that time, copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I went on to MIT, where I earned 4 degrees across multiple systems of engineering: electrical, mechanical, design, biological. That training led me to invent many other systems for advancing humankind. EchoMail, the world's first intelligent email management system. Cytosolve, a computational biology system for eliminating animal testing to discover new medicines faster, cheaper, and safer. And to the creation of a whole systems methodology for certifying clean food. These innovations led me back on a Fulbright to India, where I discovered the missing link between Eastern medicine and Western systems theory, honoring my grandmother, to develop Your Body, Your System, a powerful tool that will help you understand how your body is a system and how the inputs of food, supplements, and exercise bring your body back to its natural system state. And Systems Health, an integrative educational discipline that is now integrated into the Be Enslaved platform that will enable you to learn the science of systems, the science of everything, be it your body as a system or our society and politics as a system, to reveal the foundational interrelationships between truth, freedom, health. Now is the time for you to be the light, learn the science of systems, build community, and weaponize yourself to unleash the activism necessary to deliver truth, freedom, health in your local community. Welcome to Be Enslaved. All right, everyone. So that is systems approach. So I hope all of you have a chance to go to truthfreedomhealth.com and really learn the systems approach. And please take advantage of that, because it'll really, really benefit you and your entire life in many, many ways. So please take advantage of that. Let me go back to our PowerPoint. So, by the way, go to truthfreedomhealth.com, where you can get educated or you can continue to be enslaved. And by the way, when you contribute $100 or more, you get a whole bunch of gifts, including books and training and how to become a system scientist. You get a whole bunch of stuff. I'll cover it later, but that's what Truth Freedom Health is. You're also invited every Thursdays. We'll be doing one 2 days from now on Thursdays at 11 a.m. or 8 p.m. You can come. You can meet a lot of great people from throughout the world. That's at vashiva.com/orientation. Just RSVP to come. So let's start with red sage. And now we're going to go through really the science and the truth about red sage. What is red sage? Where does it come from and all that? We're going to give a quick overview, but we're going to sort of unravel what is red sage at many, many different layers. So let's start with red sage. So red sage is known as Salvia militarisea, okay, Riza. It's a deciduous perennial plant. And I have an example of it over here. This is what it looks like. And it's a medicinal herb that's been used in traditional Chinese medicine for thousands of years. And it's used to treat a wide variety of disorders in Chinese medicine. Now, what you're seeing here is a rhizome or the roots. That's what this is a picture of. It's a dried rhizome and roots. And what is the dried rhizome and roots? So a rhizome is a little bit different than the roots. So if you look at a plant and you look, if you pull out a plant, you see the root structure, but hanging on the root, sometimes there's these nodules, and those are called rhizomes. Ginger is a rhizome, turmeric is a rhizome, and here with red sage, it has a rhizome, but it also has the root. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a picture of the rhizome and the root, but the medicinal properties come from the rhizome and roots. Different herbs, the medicinal property sometimes comes from the leaves or the stem or the flower. Here we're looking at the rhizome and the roots. Okay, and there's different types of compounds in red sage. There's flavonoids, there's terpenoids, there's polysaccharides, there's saponins, and there's vitamins. And we'll go through this shortly, but there's really 5 different types of compounds in red sage. What I want to do now is, that's just a quick overview on red sage. I want to review with those of you who haven't seen this before, what is lung congestion. In order to do that, we have to understand the lung and when it's in a non-congested state and when it's in a congested state. But if you look at the lungs here, obviously everyone knows where your lungs are. They're in your chest area, and you have essentially 2 lobes of the lungs. And if we sort of zoom in on the upper right here, you'll see this is what a clean lung pathway looks like, where you have the muscles. You notice it's clean, the airway walls are clean, and it's a normal airway. Here, what you see is when the lung is under congestion, it's wider. Right here, you notice that it's thicker, the air widened, and obviously you have all this mucus in here. And it also gets scarred, the airway can also get scarred, right? So you have very different, nice, thin airway walls, thick airway walls, no mucus, and you have a widened airway. So that's what happens when you have congestion. Now, getting a little bit deeper into this, the reason this happens is there's a result of an excess of blood in specific parts of the lungs. Now, a common symptom of respiratory tract infections when you have lung congestion is the mucous membranes, as you notice, become inflamed from here to here. There's excessive mucus production that blocks the airways. That's why you feel awful when you have lung congestion. It causes difficulty breathing. And unfortunately, not only is the lung congestion bad with the mucus, but this also becomes a breeding ground for bacteria, leading to secondary infections. So you get the mucus, and then unfortunately, you open yourself up to secondary infections. One of the things I want to mention to you is if you were to go and you were to start looking at the scientific literature and you want to say, wow, how many papers are written about lung congestion? You know, what's actually out there, right? And what you'll find out is that if you looked right now on PubMed, which is the science sort of search engine, you'll find that there's close to 4,338 research articles, 160 clinical trials, which means they've tested a red sage on humans and reported the results, and over the last 69 years. So that sort of gives you an idea of all the research that's been done. And what we do with CytoSolve to really benefit all of you in humanity is we take all of that research, which no one person could do, but with our technology that's been donated for public use, we analyze all of that research relative to lung congestion. So that's what the power of CytoSolve is. And just briefly, how does CytoSolve do that? Well, CytoSolve takes all of this research, we extract out the relevant ones, in this case, doing with lung congestion. It's a little bit hard to see here, but we extract out the molecular mechanism, which means all the chemical reactions where red sage affects lung congestion. And then we understand systematically what are all those molecular mechanisms, which I'm going to share with you. There's 5 of them. And then how red sage affects those molecular mechanisms. And then we share that knowledge with you. Now, this is very, very different than how Big Pharma works. Big Pharma is really about killing animals, spending tons of money, and the products that they produce really don't work. CytoSolve, this approach is a more holistic approach to really finding truth. This approach, pharma companies only handle a single compound, which means a single synthetic molecule. They spend anywhere between 5 to 8 years figuring out if this even works. They do a lot of test tube testing. Then they kill a bunch of animals. This takes them 8 years. And then if they don't kill too many animals, they can then go to the FDA and get an allowance to start testing on humans, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Again, 13 years, 20% that they test on small sets of humans fail. And so this process is very, very rote with error. No mainstream media will talk about it. You'll only hear this on our channel here exposing this. And we've been talking about it for a long time. And I've been discussing this since 1986. And what's happened over all those years is pharma, which really should go out of business, they keep spending more and more money on R&D to support this very archaic medieval process. And this is why less and less drugs are even being allowed, even the FDA. This is why pharma needed vaccines. Thank you to Donald Trump, Republicans and Democrats that were able to push the vaccines through. And so fundamentally, their entire science is based on a reductionist approach. So if this represents lung congestion or cancer, the whole elephant, the individual scientists work on different pieces of the puzzle and they don't collaborate. So if they ever really wanted to look at the elephant, they think the elephant looked like this. Anyway, this is a fundamental problem in science. With CytoSolve, we take a 23rd century approach where we're able to really understand all these mechanisms of action. To give you a very powerful example of the value of CytoSolve, obviously we're going to go into discussing red sage and lung congestion, but we've been helping many of the more companies who are really wanting to solve problems using our technology. About a couple of years ago, we actually used CytoSolve to mathematically model osteoarthritis, joint pain in the knee. And then we looked at many thousands of different ingredients in nature, and we did trillions of computations, and we discovered something that was very powerful that we actually productized, but the compounds literally come from nature, from parsley and bitter orange. So I just want to share this with you to let you know that the knowledge I'm sharing with you comes from the power of cytosol, but we've also used it to create some very cool product. We call it MV25. And I want to share that with you because you'll understand the power of this product in really supporting health. And it was created without killing any animals. So it's a quick aside on what is MV25.
Millions of people suffer every day from painful discomfort and swelling, but most pain medications come with harsh side effects, and many alternative supplements have little scientific backing. That's why we at CytoSolve created MV25. MV25 was formulated using the CytoSolve Computational Systems Biology Platform, a technology for precision and personalized health invented by Dr. Shiva during his doctoral research at MIT. This formulation is the result of computing trillions of potential combinations of biomolecular interactions derived from thousands of peer-reviewed scientific papers published across 4 decades by 68 research institutions to discover an optimal synergy of compounds that downregulate biomarkers of discomfort and normal swelling.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ann. My hands would cramp up so that I couldn't hold cards or knit or crochet, and they would go like that. And I'd have to use this when I played cards with my grandkids. And I started taking that MV25. After a bit, I was able to hold cards in my hand, very, very little cramping, hardly at all anymore. MV25.
Hi, my name is Sandy. I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I tore my ACL during Taekwondo. I had a lot of pain and limited mobility. I've been taking the MV25 for about 6 months now. After the first week, I noticed a big difference. After the second week, almost literally no pain.
My name is Jeremy, and I suffer from a lower back problem. Hurt my back at work years ago, and I can go to the chiropractor, do all kinds of different things, and nothing seems to help. And I decided to try MV25. I didn't notice a difference immediately, but within a few days, the pain went away, and it stayed away. I've continued to take it, and even when I do things that I shouldn't do, it seems to go away a lot quicker than it ever did before.
MV25 is certified clean, 100% non-GMO, made in America, and GMP certified for good manufacturing practices. MV25 is CytoSolve optimized, which means that this formula has been engineered to maximize benefits while minimizing toxicity based on current research curated by CytoSolve. As the science advances, so will this formulation. This is our promise. Order online at mv25.life. Consult your doctor before taking any supplement or medication and use as directed. MV25.
So one of the important things is MV25 was created using the CytoSolve technology, which came out of my work at MIT. And it's the same engine we use for really understanding interactions of ingredients with different molecular functions. So today we're talking about red sage and lung congestion. I want to let everyone know MV25, we're almost out, but anyone who orders until they're all sold, if you order 6 bottles, you get 6 bottles for free. So you're welcome to take advantage of that if that makes sense for you. The other piece is if you want to know where to get it, some people are texting me here. You can just go to vashiva.com. That's our website. And along there, you'll see a shop button. If you click there, you'll see the product right there and you can order it. Alternatively, you can literally just go to, oops, I didn't share that with you guys, sorry. So here it is. So if you go to vashiva.com, right there on the top, there's a shop link, and then you can go down there and you can get the product. Okay. So I hope you take advantage of that because we're almost going to be running out. We did this again as a test to see who would really want it, and we found out a lot of people were interested. So anyway, it's a new product that we've developed, and we're going to probably be developing more products. We're actually going after every disease on the planet using CytoSolve. We're going to be modeling all those pathways, but really it's a very, very different approach than pharma does, killing all these animals, which frankly are unnecessary. Even the FDA is acknowledging there's no real reason to do all this animal testing. All right, so let's go back. Let me go back to our screen. People are saying they didn't see the slides again, so I'll show it to them because I forgot to share them. So here we go. All right. So by the way, if you wanted to go here, go to vashiva.com, right there, shop, and you can go there, or you can go to mv25.life. Okay. So what I want to now talk about is what are the molecules in red sage. So if you look at any ingredient in nature, whatever you have at home, if you're eating kale or lemon or bananas, whatever you're eating, everything in nature doesn't just have one compound. Drug manufacturing companies, they typically try to find a synthetic compound, but if you're eating kale, it has many, many compounds. If you're eating red sage, it has many, many different molecules. So what are the molecules in red sage and how many are there? Well, our research using CytoSolve has found 21 key molecules in red sage. And there are 11 key phenolic acids. Remember, that's one of the kinds of compounds. And here are those 11 phenolic acids. You'll see caffeic acid, isoferulic acid, carnosol, rosmarinic acid, salvinol, dimethyl lithopermate, salvinolic acid A, salvinolic acid B, protocatechuic acid, tanshinone 1 and tanshinone 2A. So these are what are called phenolic acids, very powerful compounds, okay? So think about this. This is literally a pharmacy in here of these 11 phenolic acids. So those are the things in red sage. There are also 6 terpenoids, milteolactones A, milteolactones B, macilinic acid, asiatic acid, ursoloic acid, and oleanolic acid. So there are 6 terpenoids, okay? And again, these are another set of very powerful compounds. There are also 4 other molecules, polysaccharide SMP-U1, bicolin, beta-sitosterol, and vitamin E. So 4. So when you add this all up, you have these 21 molecules. But just to give you the structures of some of the most more powerful ones that the literature really points out is you can see these are organic structures. Organic structures are typically where you have carbon associated with something else. So by the way, when you see this is called a ring structure, and the points of the ring always have carbon. Okay, so even though they didn't put C, that's what, so it's C double bond OH. That's known as a acid. And then so you can see here, these are all these very cool structures, and the structures of these molecules determine how they get activated in your body. Okay. So in summary, there's 21 molecules in red sage that are the ones that CytoSolve was able to uncover from looking at all that literature that have a lot of evidence-based research on them, okay? The other piece is there are 4 biological effects of those chemical compounds, and 6 health systems are affected. So what are those health systems? Well, red sage has effects on your lung, skin, heart, brain, liver, and digestive systems, okay? It has effects on all of these 6 systems, all right? Lung, skin, heart, brain, liver, and digestion, okay? It affects 6 subsystems of your body. So we call those the health systems. But it has 4 biological effects. Biological effects are at the molecular level, so antioxidant. So red sage takes out these oxidizing components, which means it's, anti-aging. Anti-inflammatory, right? You have inflammatory events taking place, red sage will calm them down. Antidepressant and anxiolytic, right? So it has effects on, lowering depression. That's what it means, antidepressant. And antifibrotic. Fibrosis is where you have scarring of the lungs. So this is antifibrotic. Pulmonary fibrosis is a horrible, horrible disease. If you know someone had it, my mom had it, and she died within 3 months. She had worked in a factory when we first came to the United States, and the particles in the factory over many, many years had essentially affected her lungs and scarred it, okay? So that's what fibrosis is. So red sage is anti-fibrotic, okay? So let's continue our discussion. Now, we're going to now get into the 5 main molecular systems in lung congestion, okay? So what are they? So here are the molecular mechanisms. So we're zooming in on what happens when you get lung congestion. And I just want to, you don't have to know all this. You can obviously review this video, but there are actually molecular mechanisms. Molecular mechanisms are systems of molecular reactions. So there's arachidonic acid metabolism. That's one. Cytokine production via MAPK, cytokine production via NF-kappa beta, mucin production, and smooth muscle cell relaxation. These are the 5 pathways that you need to affect lung congestion. So arachidonic metabolism, again, you see that it involves a chemical called arachidonic acid, which affects many other reactions. Your body is just one big chemical factory. Another one is cytokine production via MAPK. As you may have heard, cytokines, you've heard of the cytokine storm. So cytokines here get produced via MAPK. That's one mechanism. The other is cytokine production via NF-kappa beta. NF-kappa beta is a molecule that shows up in all sorts of things, in inflammation, also with cancer. You have mucin production. It's the actual reactions that actually your body starts producing mucus. In this case, we call it mucin, okay? And then finally, you want your muscles to relax. When you want to eliminate congestion, the smooth muscle relaxation pathways are involved here. And what I want to show you here is 4 of those pathways, you want to bring down certain parameters. And the first one, arachidonic acid, as you see here, PGE2 needs to be brought down. In cytokine production via MAPK, IL-1 and IL-8 needs to be brought down. In cytokine production via NF-kappa beta, IL-6 and IL-8. And for mucin production, you want to bring down mucin 5. Okay, so these are the 4 pathways you're trying to bring down these 6 variables. Now, however, you want to do something positive. You want to increase MLCP because that actually lets your muscles relax, your smooth muscles, and that's what gets you all tight and you feel horrible, okay? So now we want to look at how red sage affects those pathways. So you can think about those pathways as molecular machines. And the red sage has, remember, different compounds, and some of those compounds can beneficially affect those 4 pathways to lower stuff and that 5th one to increase. So let's look at that, okay? Okay, so let's look at that. So let's look at those pathways, okay? So there are 3 molecular systems that get affected by red sage. So red sage is shown to have affected on anti-fibrosis effect, which means it reduces scarring, anti-hyper secretion, right? So make sure that your body doesn't put out all this mucus, and anti-COPD effects. This is pretty cool. So let's look at it. Remember, these are the active components we talked about in red sage. These are out of those 21. These are the 21 that are 7 that are apparently very active. So tensionone 2A is one of the compounds in red sage. And look what it does. One of the driving forces behind fibrosis, which is where you have the scarring, so red sage has an anti-fibrosis effect, is epithelial mesenchymal transition, okay? So when you have TGF-beta, which is one of these cytokines, that inhibits the expression of E-cadherin. So if you have TGF-beta, when you have lung congestion, that blocks the expression of E-cadherin, okay? Vimentin and alpha smooth muscle actin, okay? So when TGF inhibits expression of E-cadherin, Vimentin leads to dehydration right here of the epithelial. So this blocks this, and you get dehydration, and inflammation also occurs of the epithelium. And this causes fibrosis. So dehydration and epithelium cause fibrosis. And this is happening because TGF-beta blocks E-cadherin and Vimentin down, and then downstream you get fibrosis, okay? Now transionone 2A, which is in red sage, guess what it does? It blocks TGF-beta, so none of these pathways occur, so you're blocking fibrosis, okay? That's what it does. That's one of the effects. The other effects tensionone 1A has, it actually initiates NRF2. Now, the reactive oxygen species, these are oxidizing components. They're the ones who upregulate inflammation in the epithelium that leads to fibrosis. What happens is transionone 2A from red sage regulates NRF antioxidant enzymes such as SOD and catalase, okay? So the antioxidant enzymes scavenge, eat up ROS, and they prevent this. So what happens is when you get transionone 2A, You get NRF2, which leads to these antioxidant enzymes, SOD, okay, superoxide dismutase, that's a shortening version, and catalase, which blocks ROS. And that's how you stop this inflammation. So two very powerful ways that trazodone ion 2A works. It blocks TGF-beta, and it initiates NRF2 to have this antioxidant effect, which basically blocks fibrosis. Very cool. The next thing is, you can also see there's another chemical in red sage which stops fibrosis. Okay, had I known about this years ago, I would have given this to my mom. But salvinoic acid B also affects this. So if you look over here, there's pro-inflammatory cytokines, your IL-1 beta and TNF alpha, which cause inflammation of the epithelium, leading to fibrosis. Okay. Now, salvinoic acid B, which is another component of red sage, one of those molecules, it prevents the pulmonary fibrosis by downregulating these two things. Okay. Now, over here, there are coagulating factors such as TFV2A, FXA, and PAI1 right here. And these promote the expression of thrombin and fibrin, and these are things that lead to pulmonary fibrosis, what my mom had, okay? So these are fibrotic factors, and salvinoic acid blocks these so you don't get fibrosis. So again, salvinoic acid B, like the ionoin 2A, which affected things two ways, salvinoic acid affects also fibrosis in two other ways. So think about it's very powerful, two different ways. Now, the second mechanism of action that sage affects is anti-mucus hypersecretion effect. Again, the salvinoic acid B blocks IL-115. Now, IL-115 leads to MUC5AC and MUC5AB, MUC5A, and these are the things that lead to mucus production, mucus hypersecretion in the lung epithelial cells. So salvinoic acid B blocks IL-13, I'm sorry, not 15, IL-13, which initiates this. So IL-13 is not a good cytokine because it leads to hypersecretion, and salvinoic acid stops that. So the second effect is anti-mucus. And then finally, anti-COPD. People who have smoking have COPD, right? Now, cigarette smoking leads to COPD via chronic inflammation induced by TNF-alpha, IL-6, IL-1 beta, and MCP-1. So cigarette smoke, right here you can see, leads to these four cytokines, which leads to inflammation of the epithelium, which leads to the cell death of your lungs, which leads to COPD. So cigarette smoking, this is what it does. It leads to these four cytokines being upregulated, the inflammation of the epithelium, and then you get lung cell death and you get COPD. Okay, salvinoic acid, boom, blocks all of those four cytokines. Okay, now salvinoic acid B over here also supports VEGF signaling, which is responsible for supporting the growth of lung cells. And when you get lung cell proliferation, that stops COD. So it's really a left hook, right hook. So salvinoic acid on one hand blocks these four cytokines, which cause inflammation of the epithelium, but salvinoic acid also increases VEGF signaling, which leads to lung cell proliferation. All right. So what we've just reviewed here is for all of you is the molecular machinery that red sage's molecules affect. Again, three very powerful effects: anti-fibrotic, anti-COPD, and anti-mucus secretion. I hope that helps everyone. Okay. Really understand this. All right. Now, what I've just done here is I've taken a Western molecular systems approach using cytosol to explain this. As many of you know, I take an East-West approach. I did a lot of research for many, many years on Eastern systems of medicine. For my Fulbright work, I really was able to unravel these traditional systems of medicine. And so now I'm going to look at this whole effect of red sage from a meta approach using those Eastern systems of approach. I don't have a lot of time to go into this, but if you take our Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior course, we include all of this. But your body, your system is one of the tools that's included in this. And your body, your system, and you can go to yourbodyyoursystem.com and you can get access to it. But what we do at Your Body, Your System, let me go back to this, is what you'll find is that Your Body, Your System is a very powerful tool that I created where you understand that everything in nature has a force of transport, conversion, and storage, movement, conversion, and storage. In the Indian system, this was called Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So for my Fulbright work, I was able to intersect both of these worlds. But if you take transport, conversion, storage to be the vertices of a equilateral triangle, you'll find out using this tool, you can answer 30 questions and it'll figure out what kind of system you are. So the red dot there denotes who you are. And then the black dot will figure out how you're off course. And then the tool actually allows you to figure out what are the right foods, diet. It gives you a protocol for what's right for you. All right. Now what Red Sage does, notice it stabilizes transport, stabilizes conversion, stabilizes storage. So storage of mucus, which is a storage phenomenon, stabilizes conversion. So you actually are not producing too much mucus, and stabilizes transport. So your body can actually move, you're moving air, okay? And by the way, you can learn more about Your Body, Your System when you become a warrior scholar. Again, as I mentioned, we include all these gifts, and one of them is Your Body, Your System. You get 15 different gifts that are included in the Your Body, Your System software. I just want to take a quick break, just get a little bit of water, but I want to let you know that our entire program, Truth, Freedom, and Health, involves many of these features. And I'm just going to play you a quick video, which will let you know what it is, and then we'll come wrap up on Red Sage and lung congestion. Hello, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Welcome to VA Shiva, the platform of education, technology, and activism, so you may raise your consciousness to win the truth, freedom, and health you need to create the future you deserve. The VA Shiva platform provides its truth, freedom, health warrior scholars the following 3 capabilities. Number 1, an ultimate education that is based on the science of systems. Number 2, technologies to empower you to take charge of your health, as well as social media tools, independent of big tech, so you can connect with other incredible truth, freedom, health warrior scholars equally dedicated like you to winning truth, freedom, and health. 3, instruments for activism, so you become a beacon of light in your online and offline community to educate others' growth and advancement. VA Shiva provides you the foundations of the science of systems, the ultimate education. The science of systems provides you the missing fundamental scientific knowledge to understand every system in and around you. The science of systems will enable you to uncover the real problem and real solution in any situation and on any issue. Concerning the educational component, first you will receive direct access to me to learn the science of systems in my 3-hour live private online group class that I run every week. Second, you will have access to archived lectures so you can continue your education independent of me. Third, you can test your proficiency in learning the fundamental principles and get a formal certification for the foundations of systems. Independent of this classroom education, you will receive also 4 important books. The first book is the best-selling classic Systems and Revolution, from which you can learn all of these concepts and more. The second book is The Science of Everything, that will educate you on how the science of systems is the foundational knowledge of every system in the universe. The third book, Your Body, Your System, focuses on how to understand the interplay of these systems within your own body. And then the fourth book, Your System, Your Life, will help you apply these principles to other aspects of your life, such as running a business, understanding relationships, and more. Beyond the curriculum and books, the second capability is the technologies that you will be afforded. One of them is a powerful Your Body, Your System software, which is an online laboratory where you can use your body as a system to further deepen your understanding of the science of systems. The tool allows you to understand what kind of system you are. Is your system on course or is it off course? And how the inputs of food, supplements, herbs, activities such as sleep, yoga, meditation, exercise can affect your body to bring it back on course. Finally, to support your education, I've also included a seminal scientific paper that I wrote, which will help you understand that the knowledge of systems, it does not only originate in the modern world starting in the 1920s and 30s, but it actually dates back 10 to 20,000 years and intersects directly with the foundations of Eastern systems of medicine. In addition to this, you will also get 2 scientific papers sharing how the science of systems can also be used to apply to understanding how food is medicine. One paper exposes turmeric from the molecular systems level and how it affects your body. The other paper explores ginger and how that affects your body. That's just the educational piece. As you raise your consciousness through this education, you will likely want to connect with other truth, freedom, health warrior scholars in an environment where you can connect and build community. To support that, I've also created 2 powerful social media tools. One of them is the VA Shiva Forum. Here you can start discussions, you can pose questions and meet others and have healthy debates. The other is VA Shiva Social, where you can create your own profile, your own presence, like other major social media tools. However, it is independent of big tech. You can use VA Shiva Social to interconnect with your fellow Truth, Freedom, Health warrior scholars and build community. Beyond the education capability and the social media capability, the platform also enables you to take action by disseminating your knowledge on the ground and into your local online and offline communities. Powerful educational cards and research are included so you can pass these cards to your friends and neighbors that provide them summarized content, which further directs them to online research and education. In addition to this, the activism component also provides you many short 1-minute educational video content, memes, and text, allowing you to quickly craft messages for your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other pages so you can deliver content to educate others and drive them to longer educational posts on VA Shiva. VA Shiva is fundamentally an enabling platform for you to get the truth, freedom, and health you deserve through education, technology, and activism. I hope you become a truth, freedom, and health warrior scholar today. Thank you. All right, everyone. I hope that was valuable. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com. You can support all the research we do, but most importantly, do it for yourself because you'll get a deep understanding of the science of systems. And as I mentioned, there's lots and lots of gifts we include for people who contribute. So that's truthfreedomhealth.com. So now let's go back to red sage. So what does the current science say about how much you should take, right? People always ask, what does the current science say? Well, red sage for lung health. You can, by the way, you can look for these products online. People said, Dr. Shiva, why don't you start selling products? We have MB25. It's the only one we do because we produced it. We may do this because we produce so much content. People have a lot of faith in what we do. So we may do that. But anyway, if you want to go look into it, there's an ethanolic extract, and you want to take about 250 milligrams per gram. That's for asthma. And that comes from Luo et al. In a 2019 research paper. Okay, so that means you can get the extract of these things in various ways. Like this is ethanolic extract, 250 milligrams per kilogram. That means if you're, 1 kilogram, you need 250 milligrams for 1 kilogram of weight. Red sage for hypertension. Okay, 10 milligrams per kilogram daily. Right, it's from Yang and Sun. That's if you have heart health issues, hypertension. Now for chronic heart disease, 40 to 80 milligrams per day of transuranic 2A from red sage. That's that very particular molecule we found out where people are doing extracts of that. And that's Zhao et al. In 2021. Now the three issues we want to consider, remember, one of the things we do in everything we do, remember, we're not here to take a pro-red sage, anti-red sage, just like we don't in our movement, we don't take a pro or anti position. We don't support the left or the right. And this is the problem we're in because everyone wants to find a quick fix. But so when I talk about red sage, there are also some issues you should consider. So you don't think this is some panacea for everything. So the issues are that if you have skin issues or itching, or you have stomach discomfort, or if you're prone to getting drowsy, or, some type of sleep issues where you, get drowsy very easily. You need to recognize that red sage for some people will cause itchiness or drowsiness or some stomach discomfort. Okay. Again, this is things that you have to be aware of. What version should you take? Well, organic obviously is preferred over conventional because conventional farming uses a lot of pesticides. So you can get lung, liver, kidney, and thyroid toxicity. And it's also carcinogenic, which means it causes cancer. And organic farming obviously produces healthier plants free of pesticides. Many of you know years ago, as a labor of love, Cytosolve worked with the biggest people in the natural products movement, and we created 2 seals, certified clean and certified raw, which really goes way beyond organic, way beyond GMO, non-GMO. But it says, is the product produced safely? Is it minimally processed and bioavailability? So we also recommend you keep an eye for these seals for those products. So in summary, red sage has several health benefits to lung health. It prevents fibrosis, which is a scarring in the lung tissue, by inhibiting TGF-beta, signaling downregulating oxidative stress. Red sage also downregulates mucin 5 production, thereby controlling excess mucus production and lung congestion. And then finally, red sage, ameliorates COPD by downregulating inflammation and upregulating VEGF signaling, thereby reducing destruction of the lung tissue. That's what happens when you have COPD. Finally, I want to thank everyone at the Cytosolve Open Science Institute who've shared all their data, so we can share this with you. And Cytosolve Open Science Institute is brought to you by Cytosolve. If you go to truthfreedomandhealth.com and you scroll down, VAShiva.com, you scroll down, you'll find the Cytosolve Open Science Institute, and you'll see that there's various projects the Open Science Institute does. It's really science for the people, by the people. You're welcome to contribute to research. One of the things the Open Science Institute is dedicated to really fighting real racism. And in our view, real racism is suppressing all these great indigenous medicines that come from people all over the world. We also are against eliminating animal testing, which is the Open Science Institute. And we're also against the incestuous web of science where the government people and the big academia people and the big publishers and the big pharma people all work together so they don't let real knowledge come out of there. And if you want to support the Cytosolve Open Science Institute, go to vashiva.com, click on contribute, and note when you contribute, you get lots and lots of gifts, okay? As a part of the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement, you can be a supporter for $25 to $99, 100 or more, or you can also contribute nothing, and you can get still access to gifts, okay? Again, that's the power of truth, freedom, and health coming together. And from the truth standpoint, today you've learned about the systems biology of lung congestion, what is red sage. From the freedom perspective, you've really learned about how big pharma really contains advancement in science. And you've also learned from the health perspective, the mechanisms of action, and we've shared with you a lot of clinical evidence. So anyway, today's talk was red sage on lung congestion. I hope this was valuable. Share it with your friends, share it widely. Remember, since I've been back on social media heavily, be it Google, be it YouTube, be it Facebook, they are controlling and suppressing and shadow banning our knowledge because we've been also exposing the fact that all of these social media companies work with government. And it was our movement that was the first to expose that the government works with social media companies. Social media is government-controlled media. So we're going to shortly be moving more and more of our content to our own website because you can see that they are extremely afraid of someone like me and our movement because we always expose the truth. Forcefully, we always do it first, unlike the grifters out there who come 2 to 3 years later. So anyway, support this movement and keep an eye out for us directly on our own platform, vashiva.com and at truthfreedomhealth.com. And I, again, encourage all of you to support yourselves and the movement. Go to truthfreedomhealth.com, become a warrior scholar. If you're interested in MV25, go to MV25.life. And I wish all of you, wherever you are, a good night or good afternoon. Here in the United States is becoming a good night. And be the light and become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior scholar and take care of your health. Be well, be the light. Thank you.